Hello, I'm Lucy Miller and I'm with VCU's National Training Center, and today's webcast is going to be providing you with an overview on how to support students and their families to apply for the Social Security disability benefits. So let's get started. Let's review a little bit. You may not have already watched the webcast that gives an overview of the benefits available to students. So let's go ahead and remind everyone what those are. There are three very different types of benefits available. They include Supplemental Security Income, also known as SSI. You have child's benefits, which, as you'll recall, is the one benefit that really is not related to a child being disabled. And then we have the Title II disability benefits, two different kinds that students may get: SSDI, that stands for Social Security Disability Insurance, or Childhood Disability Benefits. And it's important also just to remember, lots and lots of your students are not going to be receiving benefits at all, and lots of your students are going to tell you that they have tried to get benefits before. They have applied and have been turned down. The benefit programs available through Social Security have very, very specific eligibility requirements, and lots of your students, even those with very severe disabilities, will fail to qualify. That's simply the way that our Social Security system is set up. Okay, so let's take a look at what it takes to be eligible for the SSI program. Well, an important thing to understand is that there's no lower age limit, and this is something most teachers don't understand. A child and their family, you can apply for SSI as soon as the child is born. If that child has a profound or severe disability, we definitely recommend that because benefits can be provided immediately after birth. Now, you do have to go through a stringent medical review. You have to meet Social Security's definition of disability, and that is not an easy task. But there's no reason that a baby could not qualify, and many very young children do. The medical review process is going to require lots and lots of medical records, and we're going to talk about what you need to be prepared for to go through that medical determination. Now, finally, something to really understand about the SSI program: it is a very strictly means-tested program. That means that the student and their family need to have very low income and few, if any, assets or resources. Remember that if you're a child under the age of 18, it isn't just your income that's considered, it's mom and dad's income and their resources as well. The process that Social Security uses to determine how much of mom and dad's income to attribute to the child is called deeming, and it is one of the most complex areas of SSI law. But it's important that you understand that that is part of the application process. Well, how do you apply for SSI? Unfortunately, because SSI looks at so many different things, there is no way for you to complete the entire application process online. You can start there, but eventually you actually have to go to the local Social Security office, and there really is no way to avoid that. But let's take a look at step one here. Begin the process online. That is definitely recommended. If nothing else, it can provide you with lots of information about what the process is like and how to complete the process. So the URL is provided on this slide, and what I love about what Social Security's done on their website, they literally offer this application kit, and there's a great fact sheet there that's written very simply that can help students and families understand what the application process is like. And these are all free publications. So teachers, we recommend that you go ahead and download these, print them off, take a look at them. Maybe it would be helpful for you to have printed copies to provide for families before they go online. Certainly families that may not have internet access, that's more common than any of us would like to think. You can really help by printing these off and providing them to families. There's a wonderful checklist that goes through the child disability interview. If you read the checklist, when you go in to apply, you'll be prepared for the questions that the Social Security employees are going to ask. You'll also be prepared for the documentation that you either need to bring to that initial appointment or that you need to provide the contact information for the doctors, the teachers, any disability professional that might have some information to share about the child. And finally, there's a worksheet on the medical and school worksheet for the child, and that worksheet helps the family organize the information that Social Security needs to process the claim, contacting those doctors, the teachers, and all of that. All of this is preliminary work. This is why we recommend that families start online, download all of this information, read it through, complete it, fill it out, and then move on to that next step, which is going to the local office. Now, I hate to say this, but this is not a fun experience. You need to plan for a half of a day. It literally takes that long. Some field offices do accept appointments, but not all do. Now, there are two ways that you can find out if your local office accepts appointments. You can call the national toll-free line, and that number, I believe, is, yes, indicated on this slide, or you can call your local office. Now, if you've ever tried to call your local office, that number will be either online, you can find it through the office locator at socialsecurity.gov, or old-fashioned way, go to the phone book. Those numbers will be listed there. Here's the problem, they're busy. If you call that local number, you will constantly get a busy signal. So calling the toll-free line is probably the more efficient route to see if you can get an appointment. Now, you may end up on hold for quite a period of time, only to find out your local field office doesn't accept appointments. And there's no way for you to find that out in advance. I'm sorry, just isn't the way that things are set up right now. If they do accept an appointment, you can make one, and then when you go to the local office, it's more efficient. You won't have to spend so much time waiting. If they don't accept appointments, I would recommend going the very first thing when the office opens. You will see that everyone else does that too. You will get there before the door opens, and there will already be a line outside the door. You will literally take a number, and you will sit in a chair in the waiting room until your name is called, and then you will bring everything that you've already completed with you, and a employee of the Social Security Administration will walk the family through the application process. Now, to find the offices, again, we did list a URL on this slide, and it is by zip code. So when you go to this link, it's going to ask you to enter your zip code. You don't get to go to any field office you want. People are assigned offices based on their zip code. So it's really important that you make sure you're going to the right office. Nothing could be worse than taking your number, waiting for your turn, only to find out you're not at the right office, and for some reason the employee will not accept your application. So do your background checks, make sure you know where you're supposed to go before you go take your number and stand in line. All right, so there's no way to schedule an appointment online, just keep that in mind. You can call the toll-free line, that number's indicated here, and that line is open from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening, and that's Eastern Standard Time. And I would recommend calling either before 9 in the morning or after 5 o'clock. You are more likely to be able to get through without waiting a really long time if you call early or call a little late. And really, you don't need an appointment to apply. I would say that the overwhelming majority of people do not make an appointment. They simply go to the local office during that office's hours. Now, there is variance in office hours, so make sure that you double check. The office hours are shown online, so when you find the office you're assigned to, those hours will be listed. And some offices close like one day a week so that they can do their paperwork. It's just don't show up without checking that. Save yourself some time. Be prepared to answer lots of really intrusive questions about what income you have, what resources you have, and families need to be prepared for this. I know that it is distressing to think of the fact that you might be applying for a welfare program, but the SSI program is federal welfare, and it is based, your eligibility to a great extent is based on income and resources. And so the application process asks lots and lots of very intrusive questions in that area, and families, if they're not prepared, can come out of that application feeling offended or upset. So it's something to make sure families understand. All right, step 3. One of the longest pieces of the application process is completing something called the Child Disability Report. Now, Social Security would prefer that families go online, print off, or you can actually complete the application online. If you've got computer savvy families, they don't need to make a paper version. They can go online. There are literally it's like create an account, you fill out the form online and you press submit, and that goes into the database. And then when you show up at your appointment at Social Security, tell the employee that you've submitted the application online, and they will pull that up while you're sitting right there. The report gathers a lot of information about the child's medical condition and their functioning. And it also is going to ask lots of information about contacts for teachers and doctors and any other disability professionals that would have some kind of information about the medical condition of the child. You'll have to sign some releases of information in the family will. That's something to be aware of, because Social Security can't contact anyone without express written permission by the family. And assuming that the child is under 18, the family has to sign for that minor child. You can complete this report before the interview, or you can print it out. You can do it by hand, bring it with you when you have the interview. If you do neither of these things, the Social Security employee will literally walk you through filling out this report. They will simply ask the family the questions and then in hand or type write down the answers. But it does go faster if you go ahead and get this out of the way before you show up. So I think that's it. You can print, you can go online, you can do none of the above and simply show up, all right? Any of those work. So you go down and you make an application and you answer all of these like intrusive questions. Then what? What do you expect? Well, the disability process, the determination process is long. Assuming the family makes it through the financial eligibility determination, and they do that first, because they don't want to go through all the trouble of examining your child's disability if the family clearly does not meet the financial eligibility standards for the program. So when you go in for that interview and you're giving all that information about how much you earn in your jobs, how much you have in the bank, what investments you have, any of that, if it's clear that Social Security, that you don't meet the SSI criterion, it stops right there. And the claims reps will say, you're not financially eligible, I'm sorry. If you make it through that piece, then Social Security will go ahead and send those releases out. It actually isn't Social Security that does this, it's another state agency known as the Disability Determination Service. And that's the same whether you live in Virginia or Maine or Alaska, it doesn't matter. Every state has a state agency that literally contracts with Social Security to perform this function. All the records go to them. They mail out the releases. They gather all of the medical information, and then their adjudicators and teams of adjudicators look over all this information and then compare it to the standard for disability and decide, does the child meet the disability standard or not? If yes, you are approved. If no, you get a letter of rejection. This process takes, in most cases, 6 months, sometimes much longer, particularly if you have the type of disability that is very difficult to substantiate or document. So you need to be prepared. This is not something that goes quickly. Now, there are certain disabilities that are very quickly determined. There are even certain disabilities where Social Security, if you have certain disabilities, you're presumed eligible. They will literally process your application in a matter of days and let you go ahead and start gathering your check while they finish the medical determination. As you may well imagine, that is a very small number of disabilities. So don't be expecting to get a check the very next month. That's just not the way the system works. It's too overwhelmed. It takes too long. You will receive your notification in writing. The process can take a long time. If you are denied, you are always afforded the opportunity to appeal. You are given a window of time in which that appeal can be submitted, and that's usually 60 days. There is information on Social Security's website, which is very simply socialsecurity.gov, and you can search under appeal, and the forms that you need to fill out and little brochures that explain the appeals process are all very easy to find online. And we recommend that families do appeal. If you disagree with the decision, you want to have someone take another look at it, by all means do submit that appeal. But the appeal process is not quick either, so it's something families need to know. Now, something families in the SSI program really don't understand, they think once you're found eligible that like you've got the brass ring and you're in forever. No. When you turn 18, your disability has to be reevaluated under the adult disability standard. In the SSI program, there is a different definition for children than there is for adults, and the child definition is much less stringent. It's much easier to qualify as a child than it is to qualify as an adult. So when you turn 18, some point during that 18th year, Social Security is going to redetermine your disability under the adult standard. And they're going to make a determination about whether, yes, you meet that standard or no, you don't. Now be prepared for this, because about 47% of all 18-year-old SSI recipients are initially told they do not meet the adult standard. That's a high percentage. Now, lots of people subsequently do get awarded benefits as an adult after an appeal, but the initial determination results in about 47% denial, something to be aware of. All right, the good news about turning 18, because there is some, once you turn 18, the great news is that Social Security no longer cares how much your parents earn or how much they have in the bank. There are other ways that Social Security kind of dings you when you're 18, but that's not one of them. So as soon as you turn 18, all of that may have caused you to be ineligible before, go and apply on your 18th birthday. If you tried to apply before, were denied because of financial eligibility, and families know when they've been denied based on that. 18th birthday, oh yippee, let's have a slice of birthday cake and go on down to Social Security and apply. Lots of students will be found eligible now based on their own income that couldn't be found eligible before. And I would literally encourage people to do this either the month before they turn 18 or the month after. So if you know which of your students that you're working with either never applied because the family felt like they probably had too much income, or applied and were denied, check that out, and the 18th birthday is a big day in the SSI program. Well, what about applying for other Social Security benefits? Well, the only other benefits available to young people through Social Security are benefits that you draw off of a parent. If you've watched the other webcast that gives the overview, you'll remember that child's benefits and childhood disability benefits, those are only afforded to students who have a parent that is now deceased or is retired and collecting Social Security, or who is disabled and collecting Social Security. So if you know of families that are in that position, by all means go and apply. Now, child's benefits are typically awarded immediately when the adult either dies or is found disabled or is retired. It's usually not something the child actually has to go and ask for. So let's say dad retires, he turns 62, he goes down and applies for his retirement. The part of his application process is asking, do you have dependent children? And Social Security is really very good at this. So they'll determine what dad is entitled to, and then they'll look at those dependent children, however many there might be, and process that application as well, and there really isn't anything that the family has to do. And that's why you'll see all kinds of students that you're working with who might be 5, 6, 10 years old receiving a little cash payment from Social Security. It's not based on disability, it's just based on the fact that they are a dependent child of a former worker who is now collecting a benefit or has passed away. If you apply for SSI, Social Security is going to check to see if there is any other benefit through them that you can qualify for, and that's because SSI is the absolute last payer, and they don't want to process your claim if you're eligible for something else. So SSI, that program, will look to see, is there a child's benefit available? Is there a childhood disability benefit available? And if their records indicate that this is a possibility, they will tell the parent, you have to apply for these other benefits before we will process your SSI claim. You don't really get to choose SSI, like you're going to apply for SSI and they're going to see if you're eligible for anything else first. Okay, how to apply for child's benefits. So I think I went over this fairly well. As soon as that adult files for their claim, this potential will be examined by Social Security. They're going to see that if there's any dependent children, they'll process that claim, and all eligible dependent children in the family will receive an equal payment. And people are always afraid that somehow this will reduce the payment that's provided to the parent. No, no, it's additional. And the total amount that the dependent children receive is about 50% of what the worker, the former worker, receives. So let's say that dad, the example I gave before, he files for retirement, he's eligible for $1,000 a month in retirement. And so the benefit payable to dependent children would be about $500. If there's one child in the family, all $500 will go to that one child. If there are two children in the family who qualify, $250 will go to each child. It is split evenly. And remember, that benefit is payable to a maximum age of 19 years and 2 months as long as that child remains in secondary school. Not college, not tech school, secondary school. Okay, now if you turn 18 and you drop out of school, your benefits are going to stop. It's up to the age of 18 or 19 years and 2 months as long as you remain in school. This is a dropout prevention incentive. It really is. So make sure that you're talking to families about that. So the last one, CDB. How do you apply for this? Well, remember that this benefit is a little odd. This is a disability benefit. The child's disability will be evaluated. But this benefit is only available to individuals who are 18 years or older. So you may not have been eligible for this when you were 16 or 17. You might only become eligible when you're 18. And applications at most offices are only accepted maybe the month before you turn 18 or that month that you turn 18. They use the adult standard of disability. So they are going to be assessing your eligibility based on that rather stringent standard. The great news about all of the Title II benefits like SSDI and CDB, unearned income and resources are irrelevant. This is considered a wage replacement program. It's insurance for people who are unable to support themselves by working. So nobody cares if you have a lot of money in the bank. Nobody cares if you own a bunch of houses and cars, and no one cares. So they care if you work, but the other non-work related income or assets you may have are irrelevant. And remember, that's not the way it is in the SSI program at all. So you don't have to worry about bank accounts and things like that. Now for CDB, you can begin the application process online. This slide provides the URL. You will have to complete the adult disability interview form. You still have to actually end up going to the field office as well, but you can do more in this program online than you can in the SSI program. So how can you help? Well, we would really like to see you be aware that these benefits are available and what the basic process is to meet the eligibility standards and also how to apply. These benefits are really important cash supports for individuals and their families, and some of them, not all, but some, like SSI and CDB, do come with health insurance. SSI comes with Medicaid in most states. CDB comes with Medicare after a 2-year waiting period. These are really important benefits, and they can really ease that transition from school to adult life. So being aware, that's what we really need teachers to do. We need you to know where to point people. And you have some very specific information to use now. Starting the application online, how to find that local field office, what they need to bring with them, what information needs to be provided, and then what to expect. This is not a process that takes 30 days. This is a process that can take months and months to complete, especially if you get past the financial eligibility criteria and assessment for SSI. That disability determination really is time consuming. The other thing you need to understand is that you will be asked, if you're the primary teacher for a student who's applying, you are going to get a questionnaire that Social Security needs you to complete because you will be providing information that they use in the disability determination process. You need to understand how that information is used. You need to complete those forms promptly. You can really delay the disability determination process if you don't complete these forms in a prompt manner. You need to get them back to Social Security quickly. I do believe that the teacher questionnaire is available on the website, the CTI website. That's there. And so check that out. If you can't find it there, it's also on Social Security's website. That's the end of our presentation. I really appreciate you taking the time to dial in, and hopefully this answered the questions that you have. Thanks.